Welcome to Read Your Comics for this holiday special edition where I'll be looking at the first Frank Miller Batman. Thanks for joining me today. I'm throwing out an extra video this week because I wanted to cover this holiday special from DC Comics of 1979. This would have been around the time Frank Miller was just starting Daredevil, but he still did this Batman story. And my first thought was maybe this was a book that he'd done a little earlier and they kind of filed it away just to run in this special. But actually, there's a theme to this whole book and all the stories in this book regarding the Christmas star. And that holds true in the Batman story as well. So I'm pretty sure he just kind of did two things working for the two companies at once. My introduction to this story originally was in this complete Frank Miller Batman. This isn't too complete anymore, but at the time it came out, it was. And it holds Batman Year One, Batman The Dark Knight Returns, and it holds the Batman story from this. Now, Frank Miller doesn't write the story in this. It's written by Denny O'Neil, but he did do the art in it. Interestingly, as I pulled this up just to hold it up for this one little part of the video, I went to look at it and I noticed the coloring in it was quite different than what we're going to be looking at inside. And this particular version of the story is recolored by Richmond Lewis. So maybe we'll take a gander at it as well as we look at the book. So before I jump into it, though, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the viewer support. All your likes, comments, and shares are much appreciated. I'm going to throw a graphic up right here to subscribe. Go ahead and do that so you don't miss any future videos. Now, as I was saying, this revolves around this Christmas star here, and all the stories involved do. And it starts out, I don't know who did the art in this, but it starts out with like the three wise men being led to the manger where Jesus was being born, because this is a Christmas special. And then these are the stories that we're going to see. We're going to see a Batman story, a Sergeant Rock story, Jonah Hex, and this is Superboy, not Superman. And it starts with the Jonah Hex story. And I'm not going to dive too far into these stories, but I just kind of wanted to show again how it does revolve around the star. So it's like the theme of the issue is the Christmas star. This is an interesting one, though. Dick Ayers, Romeo Tanghal are the artist, with Michael Fleischer as the writer. Pretty cool opening page here. There's a family. The little girl didn't want to shoot the deer for their Christmas dinner, and Jonah Hex kind of steps in and helps save the deer, who has a busted leg. And it's funny because funny, sad, horrific, traumatic, however you want to look at this. Jonah says he's going to help him find a Christmas dinner since he kind of let the deer get away. And he reflects on why he was sympathetic to this animal. And we get a flashback of Jonah Hex as a child saving a raccoon with a broken leg. I've not read a ton of Jonah Hex. I'll be honest. I mean, I know who the character is, but I don't know enough about him to be like, was this a common theme to like reflect on his childhood? So to me, it just struck me as very funny to see this like flashback of him as a youth worried about a raccoon. But the horrific, tragic part is his father finds the raccoon and they eat it for Christmas dinner. Well, I don't know if it's Christmas, but they eat it for dinner, and it just shocked me and young Jonah, who, is like, I wish you were dead, to the dad. So having a little teenage rebellion there. I think he said he was 10 years old at this point, but I just thought that was a crazy story for Jonah Hex. There's the Christmas star guiding him to the Christmas dinner he's going to find for the family. Of course, he runs across some varmints here, and there's a confrontation with some dynamite. He throws some dynamite into this cave, and it explodes out. I guess he got him a dinner as he lights a cigarette. And anyway, the raccoon part was just too nuts not to look at. All right, this is what we came for: the Batman story, penciled by Frank Miller. Wanted Santa Claus, dead or alive. Pretty cool opening shot right away. I mean, I don't know that this particular page would jump out to me as Frank Miller right off the bat, but there's definitely the pages as we go into this. And here's where I'll pull up this recolored one again by, if you don't know who Richmond Lewis is, she is the wife of David Mazzucchelli, and she colored Batman Year One. And I guess because they were putting it in this deluxe book, they let her recolor it for this book. So let's do a little side by side here. Look at that coloring difference. Even like changing this up. I like this better for sure. But she definitely colored this thinking of this glossy paper in mind. This probably wouldn't have reproduced well if they even had the color stats for it anyway. This book came out 1988, I think. This came out 1979. So kind of neat, right? Let's take a look at the next page. You already can see it over here. These pages look a lot more like Frank Miller, particularly these faces right here. I love this panel down here with not only Batman and the way his cape is sprawling out, but the way he did the shadow, which isn't very functional. The way he's standing, the cape wouldn't, the shadow wouldn't look like that, but it's an awesome image, right? It's invoking that feeling that you would eventually see in things like Year One, even though that's David Mazzucchelli, but you would still get that sense of Batman and his darkness there. One more time, let's look at that page recolored. Pretty cool use of coloring. This is definitely close to the palette of what she did for the Year One Deluxe Edition. And I think this page too, you can see it in the faces of the women. More so like here. You can really see like that Frank Miller look that you would eventually see in Daredevil quite a bit. So what's going on here? On this first page, of course, Batman's like Christmas Eve, even the crime doesn't stop and I've got to be out to take care of it. And he notices there was a star stolen from this nativity scene. And he's like, no time for that now. I've got bigger issues to take care of. So he goes in here, and this guy has a boat set up for somebody. What's the boat set up in the docks for? And he's not going to tell him at first. He sixes goons on him, who Batman dispatches with such ease, and he's even kind of smug about it. I hope these specimens aren't professional muscle. And as I said, this is Denny O'Neil writing it, so you wonder what kind of lessons Frank Miller is taking from it. After he dispatches the lackeys, the guy's interrogating. He's like, I can hit you too. And Batman even lets him roll his sleeve up to get a whack in. And it just crushes on his steel abs. Lego Batman would be proud of that, right? So he says that it's for Boomer Katz, a guy he knew when they were in prison together. And he's doing him a favor. And definitely getting some of our Frank Miller style layouts. Again, more in line with what we see in Daredevil about this time. I mean, he's just started doing Daredevil around the same time, so that's what we're going to see. We're not going to see the Dark Knight Returns mid 80s Frank Miller here. We're getting that early 80s, late 70s Frank Miller. But vertical designs there, I definitely see it in the eyes there. He had a way, especially in those Daredevils, I think when he would do close-ups on Elektra and stuff, it was almost like Disney eyes with women. They get real big eyes. I guess he kind of carries that through even to today, but of course his style is so minimalized anymore. This is Batman undercover, and he's looking for more information about where this Boomer Katz is, who he seems to pretend like he kind of know, or he suggests like he's had interactions with this guy before and feels like he went straight. Like, I thought he got a job with the Salvation Army last year, appeared to have gone straight. I want to point out something that I just kind of dawned on me. This is it. Was he like in disguise as a black man here? Let's see how that looks in the recolored version. Did they stick with that? Yeah, coloring's a little awkward there. Just kind of made him look like an old man. Huh. That's interesting. I just noticed he's definitely black there because this is a white guy, and it's Batman because he gives after he gets the information, he gives her an envelope for $1,000. It's like a little Christmas bonus. So it turns out this Boomer Katz, he's working as a mall Santa, and this is Christmas Eve, by the way. And the shop owner's like, "You're the best Santa we've ever had, Boomer." "Well, thanks, Mr. Jackson." And he's so touched by it, a tear drops from his eye. But something's going on here. It seems like he's setting up a double cross. Moments later outside, look how that's like tucked into the bushes. I want to see if that stayed too, because I thought that was odd how that was done. Yeah, they did it there too. Definitely more mood with the coloring on this. So he goes outside and he meets up with somebody who asks if he's disabled the alarm system. And they're outside that nativity that Batman saw earlier, okay, where the star was stolen from it. And he's saying, "I couldn't. The way the kids and everybody made me just feel so good. I couldn't bring myself to double crossing them and like setting them up and robbing them. I just couldn't do it." Of course, these guys don't like that. They're not too thrilled with that idea. So they march him back to the department store where he knocks on the door. And the guy's like, "Hey, did you forget something, Boomer?" He's like, "Yeah, you forgot the day's receipts." And so they march in. He says, "I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson. They forced me to do it." And they just rob the place. But then they're like, "We don't need him anymore." And they shoot him in the, looks like the shoulder. He grabs his neck almost, but shoot him in the shoulder. So this Santa Claus wanted dead or alive uh, title that we're getting here is a little misleading, but you're getting that Christmas feel good story of a crook that went straight, that maybe thought he was going to turn bad again, but decided not to. The Christmas spirit overtook him. Batman, of course, hears the gunshots, and he was already on his way anyway. Nice look here. Some of this feels very Neil Adams like. So Frank Miller's still kind of early in his career, probably pulling from different influences. You got to think he was leaning into the Neil Adams Batman to some degree. He storms in. These little elves lined up. Some great Batman in the shadows action here. One thing to note too on this particular recoloring as well is we're definitely getting just like a gray and black, like gray on gray Batman. It looks a little bit more blue there. Man, look at that shot there in the recolor. Look at this too. It's neat to see the different color choices here. Probably a little clearer on this side, I think. But we've got our blue and gray Batman here, and this is more like a black on gray Batman coloring. More like the year one coloring for sure. But Richmond Lewis, she's not really like a big comic person. She was just doing it with her husband. I like that he's grabbing this. There's like a full motion here, and it even describes his continuing his circular motion as he spins and grabs these like decorative trees and throws one. Got a Hawkman hostess ad here. That's worth having this original copy alone for. I like this Batman head right here, the way it's colored in the shadows. How did we do it on this one? A little darker. I like this panel better. Let me get you a better look. I have to go back and forth. I like the original better on that particular. I like the original better here too. I got to think Richmond Lewis kind of did this one fairly quick. They were probably like, "Hey, we're doing this. Can you color this one too while you're at it?" And she was like, "Sure." Classic Batman pose right here. Nice overhead shot right there. Even this feels very Frank Millery. This feels like something you would see in Daredevil coming up. When all of a sudden the star from the manger is shining bright because they feel like they've lost the crooks. They feel like they've gotten away. And the star is shining all of a sudden and illuminating them enough to where he was about to kill Boomer dressed up as Santa, and Batman's able to jump in and hit him and save him, and all of a sudden the star is gone. Gone home, Boomer. And then there's a little passage from the Bible here. So neat little Batman story for Christmas. That's your star motif going into this one, which, like I said, carries through the whole issue here. It's neat. I think this is, if you're a Frank Miller fan and you definitely like his Batman work, even if it's just the earlier Batman stuff, then I think this is definitely a book to have in your collection just for this little bit. It's well drawn too. Sometimes you see these artists in their early work and it's a little rough, it's a little shaky, but this is still pretty close to what he was doing in Daredevil because it was about that same time. The story continues here. It's not a through story, I should say. It's vignettes, but it's not like each story is connected to the other. But we do have our star thing. This one's interesting because it is House of Mystery, House of Secrets, and The Witching Hour doing their little stories, and each character tells their own. You've got Bob Rozakis as the writer, Romeo Tangle, and Dan Atkins as artist on this one as well. Looks like they switched out who did the pencils and who did the inks, as opposed to the Jonah Hex story at the front. And I just kind of skim read this. I mean, they're all interesting. They're all about like a 2-page little thing. There's your star again. It all comes back to the star. This 1941 ad is pretty awesome. If you're familiar with that movie. And then Destiny too. Destiny of the Endless. Whenever I see Destiny like this, it always cracks me up because I never knew the character until I read Sandman. So when I look back at these old DCs and he pops up looking pretty normal, really, just like a dude in a hooded cloak, it just kind of cracks me up. And he tells a story that makes it look like the star is just like an exploding ship. And that's what they're saying. He's like, perhaps Cynthia, from one of the witches from the Witching Hour. But it's just one of the many secrets of Haunted House. Sergeant Rock story. This one didn't interest me too much. You got the same Dick Ayers and Romeo Tangle again. Sergeant Rock doesn't really interest me unless it's Joe Kubert doing it. And he's following the star to find the war, he said, which was kind of awkward too. And they run across this Christmas processional, which is going to the same place where they were headed as well. Pretty solid art, some good action here. I'm not gonna dive too much into it. It's war. It's World War II, I guess. And there's their star motif. Now this one I did kind of want to take a quick look at just because I love Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and Dick Giordano doing this one, this Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Because I am not as immersed in this era of DC as I am like Marvel of this time per se, I don't know a lot about Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, but when I see his stuff, man, I stop. I stop and check it out. So, Starlight, Star Bright, farthest star I see tonight. And this is a fun little tale. Superboy, of course, travels to the future to, see what they're up to, see what the Legion is up to for Christmas. And they express how they're doing different. It's, celebrated a different way. This is how they're doing it in Japan with Karate Boy. Is that his name? Karate Kid. Saturn Girl. They miscolor her there. Does she always have like skin colored open back? I thought she wore a full body suit. Man, these costumes are wild. But I do love the panel layout in this. You got really solid looking Superboy, and he does look boyish. He looks like a teenage boy, not, Superman. Nice panels here, looking up into the stars. So he speaks about the stars. Like, did anybody ever go looking for the star that lit up Bethlehem? Look at that. That looks very kid like. Doing a great job here. And then they go off on like a space mission where they end up on this alien planet trying to find the Christmas star. And there's some kind of storms or calamity happening on this planet, and there's these 3 races. There's like water creatures, land creatures, and some like bird people here somewhere too. Yeah, these bird creatures. And these storms or things that's happening to their planet at this time of the season of their solar rotation is wreaking havoc on all of them, and they're all going to have trouble surviving. And they're like, well, even if we sent out evac arcs, as they called them, to save them, it wouldn't happen in time and stuff. But Superboy has an idea because, he's Superboy, right? And they find a cave or make a cave or something, and they set it up where they flood part of it so that the water creatures can come in, and then the land people can come in and build fires on the shore, and they can trade with each other. And then the bird people can come in and they can trade with the land people with the wood and to build the fires, which keeps the water warm. They all work together and have like a little, harmony here. And it works out for Christmas in space with aliens. And you have Superman topping off the tree. And that's our 1979 DC Christmas special, comparing it to Richmond Lewis's recolor. As I said, this is a fun one for a Frank Miller fan. If you're like his Batman work, you got to pick up this book. It's not an expensive one. It's an easily attainable book for a fair price if you're a Frank Miller fan. Add this one to your collection. Totally worth it. So that's all I got for this one. Happy holidays, and as always, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.